format today, well, firstly, let's just say we're going to play, once again, the finished vehicle logistics family feud. As I alluded to yesterday, we haven't really watched the show that much, so excuse us if we don't get all of the details quite right. It's a little bit of our own take on it. We're going to have a couple of rounds of case studies, innovations. We really want to get the audience involved as well, where we ask for your input. We'll have some prizes to give away. So, get ready to play and have a little bit of fun with this and learn about some innovations at the same time. Let me introduce our contestants. So, I'd like to introduce Michael D'Angelo. Come on down. I know it's the wrong show, but come on down. Manager, Port Operations and Domestic Transportation, Volkswagen Group of America. You can come on here. Our next contestant is Charles Franklin, Senior National Manager Sales, Glovis America. Come on down. And last but not least, Kurt Watson, Senior Manager Logistics Purchasing at Nissan North America. Come on down. So a little bit more about the format. We're going to have 4 rounds. In the first round, we've asked each of the contestants to supply an image that signifies innovation for them. And they have just a few minutes to talk to you about what that is. And then, like I mentioned, we'll have a second round on some case studies. And we'll be also playing what's called Solution Feud, where we'll be flashing up some images and asking the contestants, as well as the audience, to come up with some solutions and ideas. And in every case, the best case gets more points, which I'll be scoring here. I promise the scoring to be completely arbitrary and obtuse, not really the survey, but it'll be some fun anyway. And again, the highest score we'll get some prizes at the end. Okay, let's kick off round 1 with the innovation image. I'm going to put the first image on the screen. And Michael, this is your image, so take it away.
Yes, that is mine. And I chose an image that we're all probably pretty familiar with the gentleman in his pajamas, to illustrate a concept, a relatively new concept called elastic logistics. And elastic logistics, much like the waistband in the pajama pants, is an organization's ability to expand and contract based on market conditions, and doing so in real time to both predictable and unpredictable events. Like it or not, we all went through some form of elastic logistics in the past 18, 24 months. Entering 2020, it was supposed to be a normal year. And by the end of the first quarter, we were all in quarantine with the essential staff still working. Within a few months, entering the third quarter, we ramped back up again. Demand picks up, and all the assets that we parked, all the vehicles that we parked, had to be dug out and shipped to dealers as quickly as possible. Entering 2021, the demand hasn't stopped, but production cuts hit, chip shortages hit. And though we're still contending with that chip shortage, again, we had to expand again. I guess my innovation for this year would be all of us, our ability to really meet the market demands through ups and downs.
Absolutely, and I think it's fair to say that this need for elasticity and flexibility seems only likely to need to increase as we move into even more dynamic markets in the coming years. Excellent, thank you, Michael.
Yep.
First innovation. We'll do the scoring after each round. So the next innovation image is from Charles.
Okay, so what you're looking at here, Glovis is an end-to-end logistics provider, so not only the finished vehicles, but the parts and things as they come in. So we recently made an investment and purchased 80% of Boston Dynamics. And so what you're looking at in these 2 pictures, and I don't know which is your left or your right, but the big one, its name is Stretch. And Stretch can unload a container, it can actually get inside of a container, it can move it. And so if you look at what we're looking in the future, Stretch can work 24/7, Stretch can work in the refrigerated compartments that are 2 degrees nonstop. In addition to that, with the EVs coming and the weights where you need fork trucks and all of this, Stretch just boom, boom, boom. The other one, which could actually be more applied to the automotive side, is named Spot. And it's just like a dog. I mean, the thing runs around, so it could run around on the VPCs, and it has video cameras. It could do PDI. It could also, right now, the initial ideal is security. so it can kind of patrol your yards. And so Spot is actually commercially available today. Stretch has not been accepted, or we haven't released it yet, but that's the innovation. And the whole thing is not to replace people, but just to think forward. Don't wait for the change, but be the change, I guess.
Absolutely, and Boston Dynamics is a super fascinating company. As you showed there, some great innovations already. Next year, we may consider putting Spot on the panel instead of Charles.
There you go. He's a little more expensive than me. I just want you to know.
Excellent. So second innovation. Thank you very much, Charles. And our third innovation image from Kurt.
Yeah. So this is a Tableau map, and I wouldn't consider Tableau really a big innovation, but I think the way that we used it in 2020 was innovative for Nissan. We all saw a lot of changes in the network as some plants shut down and other plants were still operational. That had a big impact on where our rail cars were, where our trucks were, and we had to be very flexible and dynamic in the way that we optimized our network to move assets. When we shut down, when Nissan shut down, we were able to really skill up several of our buyers and analysts in this software to be able to take large amounts of data, drop it in, and kind of, again, maximize making sure we had the right assets in the right place to support the business unit.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Kurt. I think would you say this sort of dynamism is becoming even more relevant, as I was saying with Michael too?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about flexibility, right? It's all about flexibility in the network, and this allows us to make, I would say, more informed decisions quicker, and time is money, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. So, survey says, I think Michael, that's a 10. For flexibility, I'm going to give Kurt a 10 there as well. Both pretty much coming from different angles on that. And Charles, because I'm a big fan of automation there, we're going to edge him ahead on that one. So Charles comes ahead. It may cost him his job, but he got the point at least. Thanks very much. So moving on to we have several more rounds, so there's still time to pull up ahead. The next is solution feud. So we'll do a few rounds of this. We're going to show some images, ask our panelists to provide some answers, but we're also going to throw some of it back to the audience. So we'd like some audience input as well, and as there are prizes to be given away. A quick reference, they are not actually golf clubs. We still haven't gotten those back, by the way. If anyone does return them, we'd really appreciate it. All right, let's go to our first solution feud. That's not actually it. So there's the first. Extra points for anyone who can tell us what this solution feud is. Driver shortage. Michael gets an extra point. We'll add it up there. I'm going to start with our automotive logistics solution on this, which is just to get them young, get them started younger. I think there's definitely some drivers in waiting already. I'm sure in the extended families of finished vehicle logistics. Kurt, I'm going to start with you though. What do you see as some of the key solutions to solving the driver shortage?
Well, full disclosure, I've never been a truck driver. I've never owned a trucking company. But we do have a lot of carriers that we talk to, and I think there have been a lot of different solutions that have been tried, right? I mean, it's not just about retention, it's about recruiting, it's about bringing more drivers in. One of the things that I kind of look back on my first job, I was in sales. And as a sales guy, I had a base salary and I got commission, right? And so, I throw it out there to some of our partners. If there's a way that, you can recruit people in by saying you're going to have a base salary. It doesn't need to be some amount so that you lose productivity. But hey, if a plant shuts down, I'm at least going to be able to pay the rent, right? I'm going to be able to make my truck payment or whatever it is. But some sort of restructuring of a kind of a base plus, a cost per mile. And I think that, when you look at where do you go find that, I've talked to several folks here, and I know a lot of people have military backgrounds, but I think we're about to see because of vaccine mandates, because of a lot of these things that are changing, we're going to see people getting out. We're already seeing people that aren't re-enlisting in the military. There's a lot of military transport operators out there. If you think about it, these guys are coming out, they're 21, 22 years old. They make about, given their grade and their time in service, they make about $35,000 a year. And it's stable. It's not a huge income, but it's a stable income. And if you could go in and you can target those people that already have the skill set, I think a lot of the insurance companies already make exceptions for military drivers. I think that's a really good place to start, to go in and maybe with this change of a base plus is maybe a way to draw more people into the industry.
Fantastic. I think I'm going to right off the bat give you 10 plus. I think we had 2 solutions there already, because it was basic. There was the base pay plus extra, and going looking at the military more. So some great inputs there. Fantastic first input on solution feud. Let's go to Michael. Michael, what do you see? Where's your solution on the driver shortage?
Right, so much like Kurt, I don't have experience in the truck hauling business, but I've been around it long enough to kind of look at it from a different angle. So money aside, what can we do as OEMs to improve the driver experience, make them want to be a driver, make them want to go to our dealers? Dealer hours is one thing that we're looking at Volkswagen, and not being restrictive so they can drive during non-rush hours. Getting to our dealers at times that are convenient for them so they can be home. Where are we putting our ports to make long-haul trucking a thing of the past more so they can do shorter runs, multiple runs even. And I'm looking at this photo, and it reminds me of like maybe the academy system in European football. But yeah, get them young is a great concept as well, and make it attractive just through them wanting to be in the industry, them wanting to work because it's a pleasure, it's fun, it's convenient, and it pays. Of course, it pays well.
Mm-hmm. Again, fantastic. We have looking at deal hours and flexibility, and getting more training in, engaging more with the industry to make this a more appealing job. Thank you very much, Michael. Michael gets the bonus point for guessing the side, gets 10, and I think it's equally as good as Kurt there. So obviously it's going to be a tight race. I can see it already. Charles, what's your solution?
Well,
and it can't be spot.
All righty. Well, it's interesting, and I didn't pick this question, but on my way in today as a driver, I have sat or currently sit on a number of nonprofit boards. And I had a meeting with one of the board directors as I was driving in today, and I said, okay, look, we need to write a program to get a subsidy to help insure new drivers. I can get you 1,000 drivers, people that want to drive, tomorrow. The problem is they need to be trained. So the foundation can train them, but the challenge from my investigation thus far is that for the first 18 months, particularly for smaller trucking companies, the insurance is just, they can't handle it. Maybe some of the big companies can spread it across per driver. So I said we need to write a proposal either to the government or to Allstate or State Farm or whatever and say, here's our program. We have an issue. We have a trucking shortage. The vessels are hanging at the port because we can't get the stuff off the port. We have people who want to work and need work, and so we'll train them if you could help us offset that insurance. And I think we could change people's lives as well as we could put butts in seats. And so that's my solution. And I'm actually working on it. And now that I've said it publicly, I actually got to write the grant. But so that's my plan.
Fantastic, and something already in action. Charles is lucky 11 again for reasons only I understand. Can I get anybody from the audience? Anybody want to throw their own solution into the mix? There are prizes to be had. Anybody? Oh, there we go. We got Thomas with the first one to give a solution.
Thank you. What I was thinking is we have different ways of transporting goods, and again, I think it was mentioned on the panel. I think Trent here from Acertus mentioned that we can use the ICO drivers, but we can also use drivers of Ford's 350s with wedges. That adds to the capacity of the professional drivers. they can do the job probably equally well with a smaller trucks, and that adds to the capacity in the end. And then the same thing is, depending on the long-haul voyages for those truckers, if you have a shorter distances, so more vehicle distribution centers, that would help to distribute quicker if you have a quicker route. If you can do 2 trips in a day instead of 1, that probably helps. And you do more by rail and then distribute by trucks. So it depends very much on the origin and the destination, but definitely you can do that by changing the logistic pattern to adapt to the new needs.
Excellent. So another innovation there. And I want to award Thomas for that one. Let's hit him. Life's a beach, so let's enjoy. Oh, well, oh. We'll have to work on our team's beach volleyball skills a little bit. But excellent. Thank you very much for your input. I'm sure we could spend a lot more time on the driver shortage, but we will have another solution feud. First of all, anyone want to guess what the challenge is here?
The future. What's ahead?
Bit difficult to see, maybe.
The future. What's ahead?
Can't really see. It's visibility, or let's say, or low visibility, poor visibility. That's something we've obviously been talking about quite a bit over the course of the last 2 days, whether that's upstream, visibility on what's happening on the production and the parts side, but clearly the end-to-end aspect for vehicle logistics as well. So what solutions can we consider to improve visibility in vehicle logistics? I'm going to start with you on that one, Charles.
Well, there's a couple. You guys will laugh. Again, I didn't pick this question either. But actually, I have a patent pending on a visibility solution. However, that was when I was a Honda employee, so it may be lost in the Honda archives. And they'll own it, and if they own it, they may decide to use it or not. But actually, I worked with PROAC to develop it. And basically, if you look at all OEMs, but I was with Honda at the time, so I'll say that when people do the order, the dealers have an order. And then once they get the order, you get the shipping order. The shipping order is related to the whole chain. It's related to the trucking piece, the port piece, the ocean piece. We connected it with the GPS and everything else. And so basically, it's beautiful, but you may never see it. It's a map, and it has heat maps. And so it was a sign in. When you sign in, it knew who you were. So if you were a dealer or if you were a manufacturer or whoever you were, and anywhere your vehicles were, there was a bubble on the map, or a vessel with a bubble on it. You could touch on that, it opened it up, it showed you the VINs, it showed you the trim, had the ETA, and it's beautiful. So that's one innovation. And now in my new house, for at least inland transportation, we have an application that we've developed that, and our truckers have to accept this when we contract with them, that there's an application on their phone. And when they get the vehicles, they log in, that application has all the VINs, has all the destinations, and our customer just logs in real time. You can see the vehicles moving and know where they are at any given minute. So those are my 2 solutions for visibility.
Excellent. I hope Honda looks in the archive and pulls something out of the drawer there, because it sounds like there's some great opportunities there. Thank you very much, Charles. Charles, you get another 10 for that. Michael.
Yeah, this one's dangerous. Visibility without first having sound ETAs is a scary thought. And in our fragmented environment with legacy systems from all different carriers, rail vendors, port processors, OEMs, until we can get the ETAs and the processes lined up, it really troubles me to turn on the visibility the way we would all want. What can we do? Start small. Get those small victories so that we can improve ETAs, improve processes in the background before we can turn on visibility, or turn it on to the degree that our customers probably now want or do want. And then from there, once we do get the internal processes in order and the more contemporary IT solutions in place that hopefully are communicating with one another across all channels, then we can move towards more vehicle visibility. But it starts small.
So if we actually had the full visibility right now, it would maybe be a disservice because of the disjoints.
It perhaps could cause more questions than we have answers for.
Yeah. Okay. Very, very good and very practical, I think. So we're going to give you another 10 for that. Kurt.
And going last, you guys took all the good answers. No, I think Steve talked about it a little bit yesterday when we kicked off, right? I think we have a need because we have a lot of legacy systems that don't talk to each other, right? At the end of the day, we want full visibility end to end. We want the dealer to see exactly where their car is, to know exactly when it's going to arrive there, so they can have that car sold, titled, and ready, as soon as it gets there. But it does create some problems because our systems aren't talking to each other. We have to go in and fix that, kind of fix our internal house, right? I think we all want that end solution. We all want to drive efficiency, as much efficiency as we can into the supply chain, and better visibility is what's going to get us there. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of work to do. I think we can sit and talk to our executives and say this is the solution, but it's going to take a lot to get there. And there's some great technologies out there. I think some really groundbreaking technologies that once they kind of get in with OEMs and start breaking down some of those barriers and understanding that, we'll get there quicker. I think it's a great environment for that right now.
Excellent. Okay, so again, lots of, I think, real input here and practical solutions. We're going to get another 11 on that one. How about from the audience? Anyone want to put another solution into the mix? And again, there are prizes. There we go, right in the back.
So Mike and I have talked. I'm Matt from NORAD up in Davisville. So Mike and I have talked about this, but I think it might have even come up yesterday. The best thing we could do is have everyone talk the same language. So AIAG, for the damages, they made it so that a front bumper is a 3, and it's a front bumper is a 3 for every manufacturer, right? Or whatever it is, and then the damage codes and all that. But every car is going through the same process. Not every car gets every process, but they're all the same thing. So if there was a way, one manufacturer might call it a 2V and another one calls it a 1K or whatever, you know what I mean? But if they were the same step, okay, vessel onload 1 was vessel onload 1, whatever that becomes called, then it would be easy to transmit the data, because everyone's coming up with awesome systems. Charles, your system sounds great, but if there's a way to transmit each data point that meant the same thing, then everyone's systems could be made to talk to each other. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. And we're going to serve you again with the prize. Oh, and with an assist from the back, it gets there. Collaboration is obviously one of the tools. Thanks very much for our audience and for our great panel here. We're going to move on to our next round. In our next round, we've asked each of our panelists to share a 3-minute case study. And so I'm going to start. Oops, sorry, I need to go back on that one. Apologies, that's my fault. We'll start with Kurt.
Thank you. One of the case studies that I thought about, from a innovation standpoint, this was pre-pandemic, but it's all about network flexibility, optimization. I talked a little bit about some of the tools that we use to do that, but we had a case back right before the pandemic, and it had been the case for a couple of years that we had some of our contracts were very inflexible. When we'd have disruption somewhere, maybe a rail ramp goes to embargo, we didn't have a solution to move that because some of our contract language blocked us from moving that from one mode to another. So as we did our planning, as contracts were coming up, we sat down with our supply chain team. We talked through what some of those roadblocks were and how could we remove those roadblocks from our contracts. Once we kind of had that figured out, we went out and we basically looked at our network as a whole and said, would it be better if we could move more vehicles via short sea? What if we could put more rail ramps in place? We had some states we just couldn't reach by rail, and so we were trucking long distances. That hurts the truckers, right? I mean, that hurts the trucking companies. It takes a long time to turn a truck when you're going 500 miles to deliver cars. So One of the things that we did is, as we went out to bid, we looked at each dealer location. We looked at what the best optimized place to drop their freight would be, and we basically ended up splitting our modes. We moved some more cars to short C. We moved opened 12 new rail ramps. We split our railroad network in the east. And the benefit of that, it was, nobody took a rate decrease. And I mean, in fact, we had rate increases as we went through this, but as a whole, by optimizing that network, we saved about 4.6%. So 4.6%, nobody's rate went down. But the other side of that is that from a sustainability standpoint, we reduced 5.6 million rail miles by the optimization. We reduced 1.1 million truck miles by the optimization. We were able to get our dealers their cars quicker because the last mile was a lot closer to their dealership. So it really, I mean, and we couldn't have done it without our partner carriers, the railroads, the vessel operators, the trucking companies, but by kind of getting everybody in that mindset of a flexible network, we were able to really make some good strides.
Excellent example of network optimization. I think where we asked everyone, we wanted to hear some clear ROIs as well, and we certainly got that. Kurt, we're gonna give you, I think some numbers I heard 4.4 savings, and I think it was 5.6 million miles or something like that, and then there was 1.1. This is because my team has to tally it up, so I want to make it as difficult as possible. So we've got 4.4 plus 5.6 plus 1.1. Charles.
Okay, well, since he had such a good one, I'm going to go in the past. I have a current one, but the current one doesn't have any ROIs because it's still in process. But for those of you who manufacture in Mexico and rail in Mexico, vandalism is live. And so in my previous role, we launched a brand new factory in Celaya, Mexico, and they gave me the logistics, and we were sending 70,000 cars to the UK. And I think our worst month, we had 1,100 cars vandalized en route to the ports. And that was an average fix of $2,200 because primarily they were stealing the batteries and they cut the battery cable, but in that particular model, the battery cable was part of the whole wiring harness. So you had to take the whole car apart and rewire the car. And so naturally you had all these various solutions. You had guards on the trains, you wired the doors shut, you did all of these things. And basically I partnered with a local provider in Mexico. I did two things. Because number one, I said, I'm going to take them off the trains and put them on trucks. And everybody says, well, that's going to increase your cost. And so I went to a local provider and I said, look, I'm going to give you this volume, substantial volume, but I need the money to be right. Okay, and then I think we may have been, and you can check, the first OEM who short-seed north from Mexico. And so we put all of them on the trains. And I looked at the provider because he's a small guy, and I said, hey, he's not that small, but a medium-sized company. And he says, well, in order for me to move that volume, I'm going to have to buy this many trucks. And he said, you OEMs, I'll do this investment, and then you'll go back to the rail, and then I'm sitting on these trucks. And I said, look me in the eye. I said, this is Charles. And I said, Charles said that if you don't get my cars vandalized, I will not move one car through the length of this contract. He did that, and we immediately eliminated $2.2 million worth of vandalism, and we didn't lose. We did have vandalism. One car, a kid was on a bridge and he threw a brick off and broke a windshield. But we did not lose another car to the thieves. And then part of that innovation, it was so bad that we had 700 cars at the plant in various states of vandalism. And the plant said, we build cars, we don't fix cars. We don't have time to repair these cars. So then I had to fly to the UK and meet with our Honda partners in the UK and say, look, I'm going to send you these cars as is, and then you can bill me for the repairs. Because I said, right now, they're just going to sit in the Mexican sun and melt. or just turn to dust. So either we're going to crush them, or you're going to let me send them to you as is. And so we negotiated, and they let me send them as is. But it was just hilarious because when the first batch got there, they called me like, Charles, you just sent us some cars, and these are Hondas, and they got Chevrolet wheels with the hole drilled so it fits. I said, I told you as is, man, because because they would steal the tires and just leave the car, and so in order to get off the train, you just put whatever you could to roll it out. So, but at any rate, we got the cars to the UK, and those that were within the limitations, we repaired them, and they sent me a bill for $1.8 million, but we were able to sell the cars.
Excellent. Again, fantastic examples. Charles, I'm going to give you a 7 on the innovation. What was it, 2.2? Was that 2.2 million that was saved? And I think that one kid who hit it with a brick, he deserves some credit. So you get an extra point for the brick. Fantastic examples there. So this time, Michael, you're going to go back and clean up.
Yep. So I've got some percentages here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get percentage points.
No, not yet. No
Okay.
fractions.
All right. So following our diesel recall 5 years ago now, believe it or not, Volkswagen doubled down on sustainability and on electric vehicles. It's been a company-wide mandate across the globe to reduce carbon emissions. Locally, in the US, each department has a mandate to do what they can to reduce carbon footprint. Vehicle logistics, being probably the largest contributor to emissions, has one of the most lengthy, exhaustive lists in the company. But company-wide, a couple things we're doing. We have a goal to hit 30% reduction by 2025. Eliminate our last ICE will come off the line 2035, with carbon neutral by 2050. Along the lines, in 2030, we hope to have 70% of our fleet be electric. In the US, what are we doing? Again, long list, but a couple of the top items. Recommit to rail. Yesterday, Trinity shared some really great stats that illustrate why. The one that jumped out to me was how far you can ship, how many tons of cargo on 1 mile of gas.
1 ton of cargo, 500 miles, 1 gallon.
Right, I think we need to renegotiate our fuel rates with the railroads. yeah, but that's why. Vehicle protection. Getting away from the single-use full body covers, moving towards wrap guard, moving towards partial body covers to reduce waste. Working with our carrier partners to look at alternative fuel solutions. Enhancements at our ports. Pasha, you've recently improved your lighting inside your warehouse. Electric vehicles within the ports to conduct your business. Port placement. Are we putting the ports in the right locations in the country to reduce trucking, to reduce empty miles, to meet market demand as it shifts throughout the country? One of the bigger ones is using LNG vessels for our transatlantic loop. We have 9 vessels in that loop. Right now we have 2 LNG vessels. In 2022, we hope to triple that to 6 out of our 9 vessels. We'll use the larger, more fuel-efficient LNG vessels, which can haul something 500 more vehicles per sailing. More out-of-the-box thinking, like reoxygenation in the oceans. Again, I can go on and on, but you're only giving me 3 minutes. So.
Yeah.
The one thing I can point out, though, is Volkswagen by itself, Nissan by themselves aren't going to solve this. We really need everybody in this room to make sustainability a paramount part of their business plan. Along the way, hopefully we can realize some cost savings, but it's beyond that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, some big ambitions there. 2025, you get a big number for that, but you're going to lose points. So you got to go -13 for the paths to know. We've got some, vehicle logistics being the biggest contributor. So you're going to net about 12 on there. So you're still coming out ahead.
How about the 2050 goal?
Yeah, well, we'll talk about for those points maybe next year, see where you are on it. So it's 25 -13. It's very accurate to the scoring on the show, as you can see. Excellent. Thank you very much for everyone for their innovation case study. Let's do another round of Solution Feud. So, firstly, what's the challenge? Extra bonus points for what challenge we're talking about here.
Electric vehicles.
This one is not electric vehicles, although I can see why you interpret that. I don't think the flux capacitor, I believe, ran on nuclear, if I'm not mistaken, didn't it?
The future.
Connected car is actually what we're talking about here. So we know we talked yesterday about telematics and opportunities in that. So clearly there's some challenges around that. So what connected car? So any thoughts on how we can use connected car for vehicle logistics? I'll start with Kurt.
Well, I mean, I think the car being able to tell you what state it's in without someone, some person, labor, having to stand there and go look at it, right? I mean, I think that's the, that's the wannabe condition. If the car can tell you, I'm out of fuel. If the car can tell you that I have a flat tire, before you actually see the car. If the car can tell you somebody stole my wheels on the train, then you can prepare and be ready to take care of that problem when it hits your rail ramp or when it hits your port. We've talked about visibility and traceability. If the car can tell you where it is, I mean, there's a lot of things we use today to tell us where cars are, but if the car can tell you itself, then I think that again helps us to have a more efficient network.
Excellent. Very good thoughts there on the canal. Let's go to Michael.
Yeah. I love the idea of connected car. I think we have to solve for some battery solutions first and how we keep it charged through the longer transits across the ocean. I'm going to go take a bit of a different route. I like it for the Mexican transit. If we can determine where the cars are getting hit, but my key's not missing. Here's where my battery got cut. And we can determine where along the route this is happening. That's some real valuable information. And keeping those batteries going for a shorter trip might be more practical. But again, everything you said, Kurt, yes. But I'm looking at it more of a damage prevention tool, more so than what we can do at the ports and be prepared.
Excellent. Another, I think, great application of it. Charles.
Well, I'm a logistics guy, I guess, so I'm looking at it in a different way. So let us say that I have both my asset-based trucking companies as well as my partner exclusive trucking company. So basically, if all of these cars tell me where they are, then now I can take that information and plan full truckloads to move these vehicles around. Because I can say, hey, I got 1,000 cars in Detroit, got 1,000 cars in Mississippi or Tennessee, I got this many here. So now I can build full truckload routes around that because I know where the inventory is, and hopefully that inventory also is telling me where it needs to be. So I'm in Nashville, but I need to be in Cleveland or Chicago, what have you, and then you could do some great network optimization, and you could do it with other carriers. You could cross-utilize that. So that would be my solution.
Excellent. And so again, some great applications there and uses. I'm going to score everybody there a good 10. So everyone's in plus territory there. Any thoughts from the audience? Any? Again, we have prizes on connected car, on next steps. Here we go, right in the back, Joe.
So sorry. Not so much the electric car, but I'm just going to kind of address the earlier conversation as far as what we need to do to bring some drivers back in. I always like that we start off with wages aside. That's always good. So I think about that and I said, what else do we do to attract these drivers? And I start thinking about quality of life. When I first got into this business, this is near and dear to me, and I'm passionate about it because I kind of came through the ranks. But I remember thinking, what's going to enable me to have a better future for my family? And that's what made me get into it. I'll never forget, I came home after being out on the road for a month, and it was Christmas, I think, something like that. I walk in the door, there's people in my house. I'm tired. I look around, and I see all these people walking around and see a little kid crawling on the floor. And I asked my wife, who's that rugrat? And she looked at me, she goes, that's your son. So, I hadn't seen him, so those are the sacrifices that these guys make, and this is real for those guys. So you think about what can we do to improve the quality of life. We got to be able to open up the doors so they can make more money. Somebody set it up on the panel, maybe less restrictions, maybe longer hours. Those are the kind of things they talked about the insurance issue up there too. I think that's super important as well. Just fair practice for the drivers that are on the road. They're out there and they're busting their butt. They alluded to the fact that there's a lot of military out there. The reason why there's a lot of military, because this is a tough job. Not everybody can do this. So we have to be able to compensate in some way or fashion in order to keep attracting. This is a great forum. I thank FVL for bringing it to us, and it's a great way to, have a vessel. But if we are steering that vessel and we lose the motor, then we lost the fight. So we got to keep that discussion going.
Absolutely. So that definitely deserves a prize. So let's hand it over. Remind me what that prize is, team, again. Oh. Yeah. Excellent.
So I actually
yeah.
have a question
Yeah.
myself. Car haulers have been the same mock-up for, decades. Has anybody discussed how to speed up loading time? A better chalking system, a way to speed up loading, yeah.
Does this work?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So one of the things that Kurt's shaking his head at me. He probably knows what I'm going to say. One of the things that I have thought a lot about, and this actually helps with driver pay as well, it all blends together, is manufacturing for delivery or processing for delivery. So when they're coming off the line or they're getting processed, that they come out in such a way that you don't have 7 cars and you wait and wait and wait. And then you finally just ship it, and then the next day you get your last car and it's going, 1,000 miles or whatever, and so now you have 1 car waiting. So the drivers, if he could have just taken that load and gone and not waited for a car that never came, that increases wages. Drivers are happier when their wages increase. The manufacturer's happier. So I don't know how that would work because I'm not in technology, but I just think that would help a lot all around.
Yeah, we'd probably getting that from production is not going to happen. What we can do on our end, though, is how we process the cars once we do have them. Mm-hmm. That's where we have the advantage and what we can explore. And again, we need
right.
the technology to do that.
And I think every OEM has a different way that they're set up to where some maybe could, but some cannot, depending on volumes, etc.
Yep.
The other thing that I brought up to OEMs in almost every meeting that I've had in the past 6 months is, and I always get the same answer, well, let us know when this happens. But it's industry-wide. Dealers are really hard on drivers. And just to send out like a mass email to all the dealers saying, hey, please be kind to the drivers, be patient when they get there. And yes, we could take it case by case, but 90% of the times we don't hear about it. So it's really just as a whole, the drivers being treated better. Because not only do we want to attract drivers, we want to keep the ones we have. I mean, we had an Uber driver the other night that literally told us, because he asked us what we did, he said, I used to be a truck driver, and I called automobiles, and the biggest reason I got out of it was how I was treated by dealers. So that's just another thought.
Excellent. Very good ones at that. If I could... Yeah, let's give Sharman a prize, of course. Of course he gets a prize.
Chris, could I add
yeah, please.
A comment on that? So as the logistics provider, when they ask me, can we load faster, first of all, my hair, which you can't see, stands up. Because, I don't want any damage. And so you're asking me to do this faster. And you know what they say, good, fast, and cheap. And, and good and fast is not cheap. But first and foremost. But to try to support that, as I alluded to earlier, we're in the current process because of the oncoming of the EVs, excuse me, of redesigning trailers. And the number one purpose for that is because right now the trailers are heavy, as well as they don't have the ground clearance for these new aerodynamic vehicles. So in that process, we can look at some of those things, chalking and those things that you're talking about to make it easier to load. And I think it will be easier to load simply because now the ground clearance is so low, so it's going to be a much smoother deal. But again, I'm still a little nervous because you're going to say, hurry up, don't hurt my car. Yeah. So but I think trailer design is coming, but again, that comes with expense, and so who pays for it, and are you willing to share in that,
Great. I'm going to give you a bonus point on that one, Charles. It's really tightening up here. I hope they're keeping count because I have no idea. Well, we have one more solution feud. Extra points for what challenge we're talking about here?
Empty lots.
Empty lots it is, yeah, low inventory levels. So obviously, not necessarily solutions about replenishing the inventory, we'll leave that for another event, but solutions around dealing with the low inventory situation. Kurt? Oh yeah, well, Michael, let's start with Michael.
Take advantage. Do your yard restriping, do your yard cleanup, rearrange the yard that way you've always wanted to do it, and please don't take on any more business. It's a short-term problem. Don't make long-term decisions that could hurt us when we do recover in 2022.
Yeah. Okay. So definitely maintain the pavement. Let's go to Kurt.
Yeah, I mean, I'll build on that a little bit, right? And
Don't build on the lot.
Go back to connected car,
Yeah.
right? I mean, maybe it is time as we've got some of these facilities with lower inventory to rework them, to geofence them. You know, we're seeing a lot of self-driving cars now. I mean, wouldn't it be great if a driver pulls in and, you know, scans his load sheet and all those cars perk up and swarm up and line themselves up in where they need to go on the truck? You know, maybe, you know, as we've got these lower inventory levels, we never want to get back, I don't think, to all these off-site lots and stuff, but take advantage of the time and upgrade the facilities. You know, make it so when the inventory does come back, you know, we're better prepared for a more efficient.
Definitely, yeah. So some really common themes there from both OEMs who really want you to improve these lots and certainly not redevelop them, but some great ideas there on what we can do. Charles?
Well, I think we got to stop looking at what we did and start looking at what we're going to do. And actually, I had a discussion with some of my team members just the other day. What do we do with the Amazon error? And so if you look at one of the Amazon models, if you go to Louisville, Kentucky, Amazon has huge, not Louisville, but right next to Louisville, excuse me, but it's in Kentucky, huge warehouses. And they have all of these products of all of their supplies, all of the people that utilize them, and when they order, it goes direct to customer. And right now, we're doing several studies right now where most people want direct delivery. So if you get more, as we grow, the more and more the direct delivery comes, you're not going to need the space at the dealerships. Dealerships are going to change, and the dealers will be cool with it as long as they make the money. Actually, they'll make more money because they won't have to handle the vehicle. Basically, their customer will go click in it, and if it's in your region of your dealership, you get whatever profit out of that car, but it goes straight from the plant or from a plant yard, if you will, maybe Shreveport, you know, that we have. And then, but then it goes straight to the customer. So I think, and inventory is expensive. I mean, now you've got a dealer, and he's got to have X number of cars. He's got to finance holding those cars. And so I think it's going to be better for the dealers, better for the customer, and use that space for something other than just having a fleet of cars to say, I got 1,000 cars. You don't need the car there.
Some divergence there, which is good, but some great solutions all around. Charles will give you another 10. Michael is 11, and Kurt, we're going to give you a 12 on that one. Okay, so we're moving to, well, actually, one more chance. Remind me, team, do we have more audience prizes to give away?
We've got 2 more prizes.
Right, okay, so there's another chance here. We have a potential winner here in the middle.
Yeah, my name is William, and in a business, you've got a couple of ways. You know, you can capitalize things with CapEx, make investments in CapEx, or operating expenses. And I think visibility is fantastic, and we talked about solving a lot of issues here. I'm in the trucking business, but there are no buffer zones. There aren't a lot of CapEx investments that are made in the industrial area in our supply chain. And in the absence of that, we have to fund this throughput with operating expenses. If we want green trucks, I know a new Peterbilt 579 will cost probably $350,000 in a couple of years. in 18 months. That truck was $285 not too long ago. It's greener, but there's no way to make that cash flow, and there's no way to attract the driver into our space absent a higher quality of life, an earnings opportunity, and we're competing with a better, with folks who are offering a better quality of life. And with all due respect, I think, if we're going to go to wedge fleets and delivering 1 or 2 cars at a time, that's going to take more labor to do that, not less. That is not the end-all be-all to this deal. I don't think there's been enough conversation around the infrastructure investments that are needed. And, we reference Amazon a lot. Amazon's made a ton of CapEx to make that work, right? It's not something that was just farmed out and we created some APIs and web services and now we're all connected and we can see everything. I can see everything in our business on my phone. I know the inventory levels everywhere, ETAs, end legs by driver, everything. I got plenty of visibility. I need people to come do the job, and mission takes margin, and if we've got some vision for this business, this industry, where we want to attract people into it, we have to have a moat around it or some way to create a higher quality of life to attract folks into it. It's not gonna, it won't happen otherwise. When I wake up in the morning, I want to think like, man, I want to go and who can I bless today? Who can I help? And there are a lot of good asset-based transportation partners in here, and people they've been around the block and they've seen the trucking business, day in and day out, and they probably have some good solutions for how we could make things better. But I wish I could say that it's going to come at a cost-neutral point, but I don't see that happening. And I had to get that off my chest and say that because it is a tough environment. There are folks out here who have half of their businesses parked, literally, and it's, well, just hang on, it's coming. And meanwhile, the mailman doesn't stop. Mailman doesn't stop. Bills come, every month, and trucking's a fixed cost business. So there's a huge CapEx that goes into that. So I would love to have some dialogue around what sort of investments need to be made in industrial spaces to create these buffer zones and create some flexibility. I mean, I don't get a phone call when our on-time delivery drops from 92% to 90%. I get a phone call when the yard holds 500 and we're at 6 in overflow. So that's all. There's a little bit of comment around industrial and development and how those investments should probably be considered in addition to connecting systems and providing people visibility with information. That's all.
Thank you for sharing that, William. We're definitely giving you a prize for that because we've got. Oh, heads up! Oh, we've got some hazards here. Excellent. All right. Hope that helps a little bit there, William. I think we have a last. We're gonna do this as a bit of a lightning round here. This was charging infrastructure, and I know we're running a bit low on time, but we'll just hear quickly from each of you on some solutions around electric vehicle ramp up and charging. Yeah, I'll start with you, Kurt.
I mean, we saw yesterday the $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill, and there was a big piece of money that we're all going to pay for charging infrastructure. But I think it's private sector as well. When Nissan launched the Leaf, one of the first things we did is we went and partnered with Cracker Barrel. Not that many Cracker Barrels out here in California, but there's Cracker Barrels all across the southeast, and they went in and they put in charging infrastructure. Kohl's department store put in charging infrastructure. So I think there's still going to be some private investment there As more and more people move to electric cars, businesses are going to put in charging infrastructure because they want those people to come shop with them. I want you to come plug your car up and charge your car and come in here and spend money at my store. So, I don't think that government is the entire answer to it. I think there's still going to have to be some private investment, and I think that definitely is going to come.
Great. Michael?
Yeah, two things that stick out, no pun intended, that stick out to me are, do we have the grids at the port to support the charging that's going to have to take place? So up to the port processors and the OEs to have those conversations with local municipalities. Second would be vehicle weight. I had a discussion with one of our truck providers yesterday about how heavy these things are going to be and what that does to load factor. And any modifications are going to have to take place on the trucks to support such weight, and any legislation that needs to be had to increase the on-road weight.
Absolutely. Key issues. Charles, you referred to some of this earlier. Any other solutions?
Well, for us, it's we're actually doing several studies right now because it's the chicken before the egg. So if I try to tell these guys, give me your EVs and let me handle them, they're going to say, well, how many chargers do you have at your facilities and what type and blah, blah, blah. But then you have, he wants 30% charge level, he wants 80%, the other guy. And so you're trying to get some norm as to how much time is that going to take to top off all of these vehicles and then estimate how many units you need to sustain that. And so, because, there's a significant investment. So they talk about it, and then if I talk to my dear friends at the ports, they don't want to invest. They say, well, we'll put the juice to the ground, but then you got to do the rest. So there's several different things. So I think one of my things we just talked about with one of the ports yesterday, maybe they design it like a reefer yard. Because the other thing is, just like everything else, I think this too will pass. So it's electric today, it's hydrogen tomorrow, it's water later on. And so once you spend all of this infrastructure to electrify this yard, what are you going to do with it if now these cars leave, they get new batteries, things, and say, hey, we charge it, this stays charged for 6 years. And I just spent millions of dollars putting all these chargers in. So maybe those things can now revert back to being reefer yards or something. So it's an interesting thing because our goal is to be the EV logistics company. But it's a little spooky on how we're going to do that. So I don't have the solution, but I mean, that's what we're dealing with every day. We've got a team. We just had actually presentations tomorrow where we're going to talk to this phase 2 of this study because we want to be ready for you, but at the same time, it's a big risk.
Absolutely is. So we'll give Kurt another 10 on that one. Michael, actually, that was Charles getting a 10. Well, you'll have to get the 10. Yeah, that's a bonus. Michael's going to get another 11, and Kurt's getting 11 there as well. Okay, we have one more round to get through. We'll give the audience a chance on the next one. It's the sort of the game changer or kind of sudden death round, I guess. We want to hear from each of our panelists what the game changer for vehicle logistics is going to be in their view, or one of them. And then we'd love to hear from the audience because we have at least a last prize to give away. I'm going to start. Charles, you've been going last a few times, so let's start with you.
Wow. There's several of them. I guess the one that just comes to mind immediately, and I'm not a huge autonomous person because number one, I love my car and I want to drive my car, so I don't want a car that drives me. So number one. But I think because of the truck driver shortage, I think the place that has a life, particularly for the long haul. So if you could get a truck that can go from here to the East Coast consistently, I think that would be a game changer. Plus, they don't rest; they work through the night, and you can take them to these yards, and then you can distribute them from there. So, if there's a place in autonomous driving, I think it would be long-haul hauling for not only auto haulers but just freight in general.
Okay, so some selected autonomous trucking routes. That's definitely a potential game changer. Kurt?
Oh man, so I have 10 minutes, right? No, I think Charles said on this a few minutes ago, but I think that the way that we deliver vehicles to our customers is already changing. Nissan won a Automotive News PACE Award this year for our Nissan at Home, and I know Steve talked a little bit about that yesterday, so I won't go through and rehash it. But 2 years ago, April of 2019, we all were together at Finished Vehicle Logistics. I think we were over in Huntington Beach, and one of the big topics we talked about was millennials, right, and how they don't buy cars, and they're all about ride share. And then in 2020, millennials passed baby boomers as the biggest segment in buying cars. They were 36% of car buying. In 2030, 50% of the population will be millennials and Gen Zs, right? And they're going to be in the prime of buying cars. And we talk about Amazon, and we talk about this, I can watch my stuff, I can buy everything online. That certainly is the game changer. It's going to be the future. As of last month, Nissan at Home had about 400 dealers involved or enrolled. We had 7,000 plus accounts set up, and we had put 12,000 cars in people's garages with an end-to-end buying experience. That hasn't changed yet, the way that we move finished vehicles, but like Charles said earlier, a dealership's a big investment. A lot of money that goes into a dealership. The bigger the dealership, the more it costs, right? If that dealership could have a smaller footprint and you have a hub and spoke type model where cars go in, dealers have access to those cars, and then they can just be picked up and moved directly to the end customer. I think that's the next big game changer. I think you're going to start to see a lot more of it, and then the next time we get together, we'll be talking about how we're adjusting the finished vehicle network to align to this new way of selling cars.
So that's we've heard autonomous trucking. Now we've heard basically changing buying habits, changing consumer habits. Definitely can be a game changer. Let's see if we were as accurate as we were in 2019. But I think you're onto something there, Michael. Let's hear your game changer.
Yeah, I'm sorry, everyone, but I have to beat on the technology drum again.
We always know Michael's a big fan of vehicle logistics technology. Anyone who's heard him before.
I know it's been discussed a lot, but it is critically important. And I'll keep it short. I know we're over time here. Short term, long term. In the short term, we can't even get our data right. We're really, really good at collecting data. We're really, really bad at interpreting it and using it to tell a story, to action it. How many of us have been in meetings where the OEM will say, here's your KPI, here's your performance, and then you're looking at it and saying, that's not right. And we spend the whole meeting talking about what the differences are. We can't even get that right at this stage. So before we go in and create these contemporary solutions for the fragmented, inadequate technology we have today, we have to agree upon how we're going to collect data, interpret it, and use it. Moving into long term, to get away from the fragmented legacy systems that don't communicate with each other, that have their limited functionality, we have to agree on a kind of a baseline functionality moving forward. And I'll give you 3 to start. First and foremost, you need sequencing. You need to know which cars to work, when, and where. Taking it one step further, we have a pretty filthy habit in this industry of resetting the clock at every changeover. Car comes into port, 0 days. Car goes to a truck carrier, 0 days. That's not what the customer sees. The customer sees it from when it was in the factory. They don't reset the clock, and neither should we. So introducing that type of customer view into how we process cars. Second, machine learning. As much as I love looking at Excel sheets on 2 different screens, one with a forecast, one with historical performance, let's have a machine input all that data and spit out what we should be doing, rather than trying to predict it based on lines in Excel. Third, communication. And I'm not talking about communication amongst us here, but between systems, between machines. And not in a straight line either, from factory to OEM to port to vessel and so on, but amongst all the stakeholders in a web, from dealers to OEs to vessels to rail to truck, all communicating with each other and all able to be elastic, go up and down based on what the information is coming, becoming that elastic organization. And all that contributes to the end goal of reducing costs, increasing throughput, reducing CO2, and getting to the end ETA that our customer wants. Notice I didn't say visibility, tracking, or tracing in any of that, because it's a byproduct of doing those things right.
Excellent. Okay, so Michael, I'm going to give you a full 10 on that one. Kurt, you're definitely getting a 10 because your solution was basically millennials, and by some very generous definitions, I'm considered a millennial, so if I'm part of the solution. And Charles, I think the trucking bit is a big one, so we're going to bump you up a little bit there with 13. I'm going to let some tabulations happen in the background to come with the final score, because I do think we need big data to figure out that one. But as a last chance for our audience to win a prize, does anybody have another game changer? Oh, great, we have one right. This Marisol. Can we get Marisol a microphone?
I think this one might sound a tad bit simple, but communication, transparency, and honesty. I think with COVID and myself being from both the OEM perspective and now in my role here at Glovis, we were forced to have very honest, transparent conversations throughout this pandemic. And having those conversations allowed us to adapt. Obviously, on the OEM side, if we don't provide our service providers with some of that forecasted information, some of those details that are coming from the factory, how do we expect them to put together a plan, move our vehicles, plan ahead? So I definitely think that a big game changer that might have been forced upon us because of the pandemic is that simple. Just being open, being transparent, sharing some of those details that come up the pipeline from the factory to where we are. And as service providers, always sharing those limitations that we have. If there is a plan that we have in mind and we can't meet it, being open and transparent to saying, hey, I can't meet that objective, I can't meet that KPI, and the OEM having that relationship to say, okay, if we can't meet that, then here's the alternative. Let's work together to come up with a solution. So I definitely think that is a game changer.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Another prize for you. And here it's on its way, sort of. Yeah, there we go. Excellent. Fantastic. So a great... Oh, there's another one. Okay, well, let's do the last one. I think he's already gotten a prize anyway, so we'll hear from it, but I'm afraid that'll be for no prize.
Hi again,
Exactly.
Thomas Lies from Amperts. I think one of the things a lot of people spoke about Amazon and their business model. I think one of the biggest obstacles there may be in this model is that Amazon has a visibility, and the visibility based on what you search for and where you are located. So some of the goods are delivered already to the location nearby. That's what enables them to deliver so quickly. So if you have a model where you sell online, where you have a visibility of IP location of the person who's viewing a car and what kind of specification of the model they're looking at, and you have the ability to have that model within a day or 2 days time delivery from a hub location to the final buyer, well, that way you can speed up the process. You can see what kind of models of editions or versions of them they're being looked at and have them positioned in advance. I think that's really where you have to look at the final buyer, and having online sales instead of dealer sales gives you a better visibility or actual visibility. Because if you have right now a situation where you have the pickups and big SUVs being pushed to the dealerships because that's the only thing available, obviously what you're going to see is that no one buys cars, everyone buys pickups and SUVs, big SUVs, fully loaded, because that's where you make the margins. But that's not reality, that's the current situation right now.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you for everyone in the audience for all the great interaction. We've come up to the prize draw. Can I ask Vanna White to please join me to give away our prizes? So the scoring was very close. We'll reveal in a moment. Third place, but everyone's a winner here for finished vehicle logistics. Sorry, I don't know where I'm supposed to stand here. Come here along. Our third, I'm going to give out the third place, and then we'll do the reveal for the between first and second. Yeah, third place did go to Charles. Charles was third in very tight race. Thank you. And Charles, in your along with the floaty there, you've won a s'mores pack to make some s'mores, some shot glasses to share with your team, and a Hot Wheels kit car. But you're going to need to try and keep a damage away from that one. And okay, and then it was a really tight race, but I can reveal the winner. Yeah, there we go. By 0.1. Kurt Watson from Nissan, just edging out Michael. And first we'll do our second place. We'll go through Kurt's in a moment. Second place for Michael, Michael, you also won a s'mores pack and some shot glasses, and we've got a lovely Pelican Hills cap to go with you there. And Kurt, our winner, you've also won the shot glasses, some whiskey zones for making whiskey. Obviously, down in the south, we've got some great whiskey to be had. And we've also got a signed picture of the #1 boy band in the country. Signed and framed for you, so enjoy that. And thanks again to everyone for joining us at the Family Feud, Finish Vehicle Family Feud. It's going to be worth a lot of money someday. We know that. It's a game changer. Thanks, everyone. Hope you had fun.
The American automotive industry has always been home to our nation's top innovators. Embodying this spirit, Jack Cooper Transport has played a critical role in the American automotive story since 1928. From receiving and managing cars off the assembly line to loading and delivering newly manufactured vehicles to dealerships, Jack Cooper provides a necessary part of the new vehicle manufacturing process, and it is well positioned to continue to grow and thrive for the next 100 years.